Prakasa, shall we start with the session? Shall we now start, sir? Yes, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome, everyone. So, first of all, I would like to take the opportunity to welcome our resource person, Mr. Prakhar Wadhwa. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Our today's session is on use of advanced Excel in teaching. So, first of all, before Sir takes over the session, I would like to take the opportunity to introduce our resource person for the benefit of our participants. Mr. Prakhar Wadhwa is an assistant professor at Ramanujan College with 9 years of teaching experience. He has done graduation from SGTB Khalsa College, University of Delhi, and post-graduation and MPhil from Department of Commerce, University of Delhi. He has published many research papers in recognized journals. Currently, he is pursuing PhD from Department of Commerce, University of Delhi. Even being from a non-technical background, he has expertise in all the commonly used software and programming. He has delivered many sessions as a resource person in faculty development programs, refresher courses, and other training sessions. So it has been a pleasure to have you here with us. So I would like to hand over the session to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay, so I'll be sharing my screen. I have shared a file with you all. So I request you all to please open that spreadsheet on your computer. If you're using your computer, if you're not, please switch on your computer so that we can simultaneously perform the same task. So this is the file that I've shared with you. So I hope all of you can see the screen and you're able to access the file that I've shared. Yeah, I'll be needing some confirmation.
We have shared the file on the Telegram group for all the participants. So participants can't unmute themselves. So, but we have posted that on the Telegram group for them.
Okay. Okay. So assuming you all have the file, so now this is the first file that we have. So in this first thing that the first sheet that we have is basic. So we'll be talking about very simple about how to use formulas, how to use functions, and what all different kinds of formulas and functions are there, and how to use them more efficiently in your day-to-day life as well as in your academic work. Now in this first sheet, so I hope all of you have opened this sheet and you're on the sheet that is named basic. So there are many sheets in this. So we are starting with the first sheet that is named as basic. So in this sheet, you can see that in this particular column, that A column, you have you have many names that are written, and the formatting of the name, how they're written, it's very different. So as we can see, the first name is written as Sweetie, but if we just edit it, so we can see that there are few spaces here, plus there is a numeric one serial number that is written, and the serial number is there in the cell itself. So our task here is that we need to format it so that it becomes in a more presentable manner. Now, how we can do this? So there will be many ways. So we'll be talking about one of the way, and this is just about getting used to of using formulas and functions in a spreadsheet. So we can see that here the name is written in sentence case. Then somewhere you can see that the name is written all in uppercase, maybe it is in lowercase. So we can see that these names are written in all the names are written in lowercase, and then the numbering is there like this. So what our task is to just write in the cell just the name, no numbering, no spaces, and those things, right? So with the first thing, we are learning a first formula that is known as LEN and how we can use it. So I'm just increasing the size so that it is visible. So the first formula that we are trying to understand is LEN. So the formula goes by equal to LEN. The bracket starts, and then we are selecting the reference of this text and then closing the bracket. So we get the answer as 30. LEN function is telling us how many characters are there in the cell. So this is the cell, this first cell, that is A2 cell. In this cell, how many characters are there? So let's just try to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 30. So it has counted the numbers, it has counted the dot, as well as it has counted blank spaces. So these spaces are also counted as characters. So that this is how the formatting has been done. Now I hope the basic is the part where we can copy paste the formulas, dragging and filling those cells is already known to you. So what we are doing is, in order to copy this reference, so the reference here is LEN A2. Now when we'll copy this reference from here to here, so the answer comes out to be 12, and we can see the reference is A3. In the same way, when we copy this thing and then paste this thing again, so the answer is LEN A4. So this type of referencing is relative referencing. I hope you already know about it. So what we want to do is we just want to copy paste this formula in all the cells that is till 47. So till 47, and that is our 48th row, we want to paste this formula. Now the data set is really very small here. We can do it. We can check it with our eyes also, that what all problems are there. But if the data set is quite large, then in that case, these formulas or these logics that we are building are going to really help us in minimizing the efforts that we have to take to do this. So what we are doing is we are just double clicking here, and by double clicking, the formula is pasted in all the cells till the last row. So I hope this part is clear to everyone, and this is very basic. So if you have any question, that can they raise hands or they can put the message in the chat. right? So I hope you have all got this thing. So we have used the first formula, that is len, that is telling us the length of the cell, right? So in the cell, how many characters are there? Now what we can see here is, let's see another formula, that is trim. Now we've used this, so this formula is trim. So as the name suggests, this is going to trim something, or we can say remove some extra characters that are there which are not wanted in the cell. So let's just try, that is equal to trim. Then we select the cell and then close the bracket, enter. So what we get is, we get the same output as what we have selected as input. So we have selected input as A2, and the output is also we are getting A2 only. So there is no actual difference in both the cells. But let's just try to copy paste this formula in all the other cells. So we just double click here, and the same formula is copy pasted in all the other cells. So in all the other cells, the same formula is copy pasted. So if I hope if you're doing it, you have done till this part. Then again we are trying to use len. So we will try to find out that whether there is any difference in this len and this len. So whether there is a difference or not. So what we do is, we just say equal to len, then the bracket starts, and now we are putting the input not A2, but we are putting the input as C2. So we just close the bracket and we hit enter. And now what we are doing is, again we are dragging, clicking and dragging. Now what we can see in this particular sheet is, so this len, let's just call it as len1, and let's call this len as len2. So we are trying to find whether there is a difference in the output here and the output here, and if there is a difference, why there is this difference. So let's just try to find. Now the data set is really very small. So there are only 47 entries. Let's suppose there were 10,000 entries in the data set. Then you could not have checked just by scrolling. So you could not just have scrolled and just checked that whether these entries and this entry is matching or not. So for that, what we try to do is, we just try to put a very simple logic, that is whether this thing is equal to this or not. So this is equal to this, equal to this. So whether this, both these things are equal or not. So we click enter, the answer that we get is true, because with our bare eyes we can see that here is a 13 and here is also 13. So when we just copy paste this thing, so we get this. Everywhere we get true, somewhere we also get false. So somewhere we also get false. Now for this, what we are going to do is, so let's just name this cell as check. So we have named the cell as check. Now we want to highlight only those cells where it is false, but the cells which are not false, we don't want to highlight. So this, what we are doing is, we have selected the cells. So these all cells have been selected. So this whole column, we just want to highlight those cells where this falls. So we go to this tab, that is conditional formatting. So we click on this tab, conditional formatting, and we go to contain. So we click on the second one. Then we say it is not a value, so it is not numeric value. So we say specific text, and specific text is, so we have to write the same way as it is written. So formats, so we just say, and then we just click OK. So we just try to give it some color or fill. So it is right now no fill, so we can just give any color in this. So what we can see is, wherever it was false, now it has been highlighted. So with just scrolling, you can find if the data set is small. So we just see that here it is false. So the answer here was LEN1 was 15, but LEN2 is 13. It means there is a difference. So this difference, let's just try to see why there is a difference. So when we just double click on this, we see that there are few spaces here. So we can see that there are 1, 2, 3 spaces. So 1 and 2. So only 2 spaces. So here the answer is 15. But when we apply the same function after using trim, the answer becomes 13. It means that the extra spaces that were there at the end of the letters, it has gone now. So there are no extra spaces now. So we can understand that how trim function is working. Trim function is reducing or removing the spaces that are there in the beginning or in the end. But if let's say 6 is written and then there are spaces, those spaces will not be removed. So this is how our trim function is helping us. So we have applied trim and then this is how it is going to help us. Now, let's just do one thing. We just hide these columns now. So we are done with the work of these columns. So we are just selecting both the columns and then we are right clicking. And then there is this option of hide. We'll just click on hide and the columns are hidden now. So what we can see now is that the first column is A, the second column is B, the third column is C, but D and E column are missing. Directly we have F column. So it means that these two columns are missing now because we are hidden those. If we want to unhide it again, so we'll just select. So the cells, the columns which are there, the starting, the end. So whatever columns are hidden in between. So we'll just take the next column and one before column, and we'll just double click and we'll just click on unhide. So these columns will be again shown to us. So again, let's say in order to simplify the sheet, we just hide those columns. Now here what we can see is here we have the output. Output is one dot and then few spaces and sweetie. But in the formula bar, what is written is we are written with the formula. So we are written with the formula. Now, if I just copy paste this thing, I'll be always carrying forward the formula. So whenever we want to get rid of the formula, so we can see that when my cursor is here, I get to see the output that is this, but in the formula bar, the input is mentioned. So if I want to get rid of this input or the formula, what I'll do is I'll just select all the cells. So from here till here, all the cells are selected. Then we are copying it and then we are pressing Alt Control and V. So when you press Alt Control and V, you get a dialog box like this, and here we'll just say values. So we don't want to copy paste the formula, we just want to copy paste the values. So we'll just say values and just we'll click OK. So when you click OK, then this formula is gone. So the formula is gone now, and you can see that there is output here and here also there is output. So in both these cells, there is only output. Now, still our task is not complete. Our task is that we just want the name from this. So we have few formulas. So we are just talking about one formula. So there's a right formula. Right formula is going to help you to select letters, characters from the right side. So if you want to select letters and characters from right side, you can use right formula. In the same way, you have left formula. If you want to select letters or characters from the left side, in the same way, you have mid formula if you want to select somewhere from between. We're just talking about right only, but you can note it down left, mid, and other formulas. So the formula goes like this: right, then the bracket starts. Now, from which text you want to select the text? So this is our text from which we want to select, and then it says number of characters. Let's suppose we write number of characters is 5. So we just get the 5 letters from the end. If we, let's say, we write number of characters as 6, we get 6 characters from the right side. But in a spreadsheet, if you want to generalize your formula, so your formula should be, the logic should be built in such a manner so that you can generalize it, so that it can be copy pasted without thinking that whether it is going to work on the next or not. So if we copy paste this thing, so if I'm dragging it here, it is not helping us in any way, because here, let's say we get the second name, but we get some space also. We get the third name, but we get 2 spaces. We just get the last name. We just get the name by chance. Then again, this formula is, this logic is going to that is what we have learned is right. Now what we are going to do is we are going to use length formula and the right formula in combination so that we can find in just one go that whether we can directly do or not. Now, when we see this particular thing, so we say that there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we can say that there are 7 extra characters that are there. Space is also considered as a character. So there are 7 extra characters. So what we try to do is, so we are trying to build our logic. Our logic says that whatever the number of characters are there, if we reduce 7 from those, if we reduce 7 from that, we'll get the only those letters. So we'll just say equal to, then we say put comma. When it asks of this minus 7, and then we close the bracket. Then when we hit enter, we get the name as Sweetie. So we try to drag it, and we try to drag it till like this. So when you try to drag it, and what you can see is that in every cell now you get the first name and the last name. So you got the first name and the last name till 9. Now I try to drag it further. So when I try to drag it further, what I find is that here the name is not okay, not okay, not okay. Because the problem is the logic that you built. The logic was that you just try to reduce 7 characters from the but if this data set consists of 10,000 numbers, then it is not easy to again and again change the formula. So in that case, we have to, again, the formula is there, but it is not a generalized formula. So again, we are not happy with this formula, so we delete it. So now we learned another function, that is find, and there is search. So we have to find and search. So let's just see how find and search works. So we're saying equal to find, then the bracket starts. Now the syntax of the formula says what text you want to find. So we say that let's see what text we have to find. So we try S. So we write a capital S, in uppercase we write S, and then we say comma. Then it says within what text? Within this text. And there is start number. So what we can see in the syntax, start number is given with square brackets. So whenever in syntax, if there's a square bracket, it is always optional. So we'll not write anything. We'll just close the bracket and we'll hit enter. And what we get to get the output as name. So this, whenever you get hash and then there's something written, so it is always that there's an error. So the formula is not able to give you the output because you have not correctly written the formula. So that is why there's this error. So let's just try to see what is the error. Now this S, when we have written this S, the columns in a spreadsheet are referred by alphabets. So column in a spreadsheet are referred by alphabet. So when you write this S like this, it means that you are referring to some column, but you're actually not referring to a column. You're referring a character that is present in this. So again, what we do is whenever we write any textual thing, it should be in inverted commas. So whenever we write any textual thing in a spreadsheet, it should be in inverted commas, and then we hit enter. The answer that we get is 8. This 8 means that S here lies at 8th position. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So S here lies at 8th position. So that is what we're saying. So S lies at 8th position. Then let's just try to modify. So in search, so now we go to search. The syntax is it is same. So again we write a capital S and then within this text, and then we close the bracket. Answer that we get is S only. Is the answer we get same. So we get the same answer as 8. So how both the formulas are different? So why we're getting find and search, and if there is no difference, so let's just try to modify it. Now instead of S, we write lowercase s. So when we write lowercase s, just see how we have changed the formula. Instead of uppercase S, when we're getting the uh, but when we write small case s, and then when we hit enter, the answer that we get is value. It means find is case sensitive and search is not case sensitive. So when you're using search, whether you're writing it in uppercase or lowercase, you're going to find the answer. But when we're writing in find, so it is going to find the same case, uppercase or lowercase. So let's just try to modify it. So when we get s, we get the answer as 8. Now changing it to our this thing so that we can solve this problem. So we are trying to now find space. For finding space, you just have to put a space here. So instead of writing any letter or number, you are writing that I want to find space. So if I want to find space, so this you can see that this is a space that I've inserted inside of inverted commas. So when I click enter, the answer that we get is 7. Now, what does 7 means? 7 means here that the final space that I find is in at 7th position. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7th position is the final space that I get. So now I try to do what? I try to, so we just, let's say we just hide it. So I'm trying to find space in each and every cell. So when I try to find space in each and every cell, so I get space in each and every cell here like this. And then we're going to use 3 formulas in just one formula in order to find the name. So now we know of the formulas. So we just write name. So we say equal to. So try to find, we are trying to select characters from the right side. So right, then there's the text. And then in numbers, we write len. So we try to find the total numbers. So we get the total numbers. And from this, we're going to deduct the space. So we say find text, that is a space, within text this, and the bracket close. So now this bracket is for find and this bracket is for write, and then we hit enter, and the answer we get is the name. Then again, we just double click here, and what we can see is we can find the names of each and every, so no matter what is the pattern that has been followed, we can find names for each and every row that we have. So all the records are being added, and we are rid of the spaces, we are rid of the numbers, we are rid of the dots. Then again, it's not properly written, because somewhere it is in small cap, somewhere it is totally small cap, somewhere the first name is upper, first letter is upper, but this for the surname the first letter is not. So how to avoid this problem? So in this we are adding another function. So we are adding another function, that is proper, and then we close the bracket. So when we write proper, so it's written. So proper. Now this is proper, and then we just double click on this, and what we can see is now all the letters. So let's say we just compare this. So this name was written like this, but now it is written like this. So we have used these many formulas in this in order to make this sheet a little bit clean. So this would be a clean sheet, so a more presentable format. Now whenever you want to copy paste this thing, so as we know, we have used different referencing in this, we need to get rid of this referencing. So we just copy this thing and we paste it, let's suppose here, but we don't normally paste it, we press Control Alt and V. So when we press Control Alt and V, we get the table like this. So this dialog box, so we just click on values and then we click OK, and the values are here. So this is how you can just make your sheet clean. So as you have proper, that will make the words in title case. You can have upper, which will make all the letters in uppercase, all the words in uppercase. If you write lower, all the letters, all the words in lowercase. Right, so this was the task in the basics. So what we have done is we have learned a few simple formulas, and then how to use them. Right. So moving to the next sheet now. So we're done with the first sheet. So moving to the next sheet. So next sheet that we have is merged one and merged two. So these are two sheets that we have. So merged one and merged two. Now when we open merged one, so we find that there is some ID that has been mentioned. So ID is there and phone number is there. Then we have another sheet that is merged two. Then in this sheet, what we can find is there is name and there is ID, but there are no phone numbers. Now these IDs are coming from this only. So we can say that both the sheets are not complete altogether. So one or the other information is missing. So whenever you want to combine two spreadsheets, so you can use certain formulas in order to combine those sheets. So we'll be talking about that part. So firstly, what we can see is, let's just see how many entries are there. So in this particular thing, in this particular sheet, we can see till 99th row, we are having the entries, and the first row is for the labels. So it means total 98 records are there. In merge to file, we can see starting from here until here, we have only 87 rows, and the first row is for labels. So it means we have only 86 rows. So it means that the first sheet is having all the record, but second doesn't have all the records. So firstly, we will just try to find out what all records are not matching. So for this, we're going to sheet one, that is merge one, and here we write match. So we write here match. So we want to match both the sheets. Now, one way is that you can individually check it by searching each and every, but that would take a lot of time. So many times it happens whenever we are doing any our academic work or research work. So we find that the records are not matching. So how we can match that whether both the records are same or not? Maybe even if the numbers were same, both at both the places we had 98, 98. But let's suppose instead of what we want in 98, there are some other records. So we want to match whether our records are matching or not. Now for matching, we need some primary key, or we can say unique ID. Let's suppose you have assigned some serial ID, or you have assigned some ID, roll number or anything. So we have this unique ID, that is IDR. So this is something which cannot repeat. So it's like a primary key for us. So for matching this, we use a very simple function, that is equal to match. So we use a very simple function equal to match. Now bracket starts. Now the syntax of the function says, what is your lookup value, what is your lookup array, and what kind of match it is. So we say our lookup value is we want to match this. So we want to match this. So this is our lookup value. Lookup value means only one value. So lookup value is this value. Then we put a comma. Then it says lookup array. So lookup array is not there in this sheet, but is in the other sheet. So what we'll do is we'll go to merge to, and we'll click on this. And after clicking on merge to, lookup array means a range of cells. So it can be m by n, it can be anything, right? So m by n, m number of rows and n number of columns. But we know our lookup array would be in this. So this is our lookup array. So what we do is we select this whole cell. So this whole column has been selected. So we just go to B and then just click on this, and we can see that the whole column is selected. Then we put a comma. Then we say what kind of match it is. So it asks us what kind of match it is. So it is less than match, exact match, or zero, or -1, that is greater than. So we write 0, that we need exact match. Then we put the bracket and then we hit enter, and answer that we get is 3. Now we just copy paste the same thing and we get these answers. Now what does this 3 signifies? So the ID that we are searching is 12. So in which particular row we have 12? So this is 12 and it is in third row. So the answer in the merge column is about the row number in which it is present. Now when we are scrolling down, we can see that there are some NA. NA means that these records are not found. So we just see NA, and then there is another NA. So right, so these NA means the records are not found, and we can match both the sheets that what all records are not being found. In the same way, right now we are trying to search in this sheet. We can also search in this sheet that how many records are not found. So just a quick repetition. So we write match here. So we apply the function. So equal to match. Now we are trying to look up this. So this is our lookup value. Then you put a comma. The lookup array would be in the other sheet. So lookup array is any value in this particular column. Then we put comma and then we put what kind of match it is. It is exact match. So we put a 0. And then we close the bracket and we hit enter. And the answer we get is 57th row. Then we double click and then we just scroll down and we are not able to see any 0, any NA. So it means all the records are there in this particular sheet. But there are few missing records that are not there in this. So this is how you can match, and then you can just find out what all records are not matching. Now our idea is that we want to make a sheet where we add all the three things. So we have three variables. The first variable is name, then we have ID, and then we have phone number. In the first sheet, we are given with ID and phone number, but in the second sheet, we are given with name and ID. So we want to just try to merge these both sheets. So we try to hide this. So this part is done. So we're just hiding it. Now here we write name. So if you want to, so this will be very helpful whenever you want to import something, is import one or other variable from another sheet to your main sheet, and there is some primary key or there is a relationship between these two sheets. So two sheets are linked with each other using a primary key. So we can see merge one and merge two are linked with each other using ID. So in order to do this, we write equal to index, then the bracket starts. Now equal to index, so what actually we want as your output. So we want name. So we go to this merge to. Now the name can be there in any of the row. So in any of the row, the name can be there. So we can see the names can be there in any of the row. So we don't know which name to carry. So we'll just select the whole column. So I've selected the whole column that our name is there in this, but we don't know in where. So we put a comma. Then it says row number. So if we just tell that what row number name we want. So index is doing what? Index is trying to extract the information or the data that is there in that particular row. So but we don't want know the row number. So row number can be, we can find the row number using match. So we just say it match. So we use formula in a formula. So we say match and then bracket start. We already know how to use match. So we say match. And then we again go to our first sheet. We select the ID and then say what is our lookup array. Lookup array would be in the other sheet. So this lookup array. And then we say what kind of match it is. It is exact match. And then we close the bracket. So this bracket is for match and this bracket is for index, and then we hit enter. So when we hit enter, so we can see 12 number ID. When we are trying to find here, this is 12 number ID, the name is Arushi, and here also we get Arushi. Now we will just drag and drop and we get all the names. So what we can see here is that, let's just see 26 ID. 26 ID, just we do a random check. 26 ID. So if we just see in 26 ID here, so just control and find 26 ID. So if we see 26 ID, so we can just do a find 26. So 26 ID Kavya Kaushik. So we just trying to cross check. So 26 ID Kavya Kaushik, and here we have Kavya Kaushik. So the function works correctly. And where the result is not found, it will show you N. So this is how we can merge these two things. We'll try to do it again. Let's try to do in this sheet. So here we don't have the phone number, but we have ID and name. So we are hiding this. So here we, let's say, write phone number. Now here what we do is we need phone number here. Just again, just see the thing. What we're doing is, yeah, here we're just hiding this. That the sheet is again the same. In this particular sheet, we have phone number, we have ID, we have ID here, and we have phone number, we have name here. So this 11, we are trying to search this 11 here. So in this particular column, 11 can be anywhere. With match, we will able to know what is your row number. Index is going to help you extract whatever is there in this particular column at that row number. So that is how this formula is working. So we say equal to index. Then we select what is your output you want. So we go to merge one, and the output that we want is phone number. So the phone number can be there in any of the row in this particular column. So the whole column is selected. Then we put a comma. Then we say we have to write the row number, but we don't know the row number exactly. So we try to find the row number using match. So we use match. Now, which row number you want to search? So lookup value is this. So this row number, this particular ID number you're trying to search. Then you put a comma. This ID number can be there in any of the row in this particular column. So this whole row is this whole column is selected. Then you put a comma, and then you put what kind of match it is. It's exact match. So we put a 0, and then we close the bracket for match, and then we close the bracket for index, and then we hit enter, and we get the answer as this. And when we just double click, we merge both the sheets. Now there are other alternatives also. So one of the alternatives is you can use VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP. So VLOOKUP is vertical lookup, HLOOKUP is horizontal lookup. So when your number of rows are more than number of columns, you'll use VLOOKUP. When your number of columns are more than number of rows, you'll use HLOOKUP. But those functions have their own limitations. So you can read about the limitations. So instead of using VLOOKUP or HLOOKUP, you can use index and match combination. It is going to always help you in this part whenever you want to merge the sheet. So this was about the second exercise, that was merge. Now going to the third exercise, that is filter and sorting. So filter and sorting. So now here what we can see is there are few states, years are written, then we have state, then we have crop, category of the crop, area under cultivation, and production. So these are few variables that are mentioned to us. Now let's suppose you are doing different any kind of research on this kind of data. So first thing that we see is we need to clean the data. For cleaning the data, what we can see is that there are few NA written. So there are few NAs. So there are NA, right? So now how to remove these NA in just one go. So you don't want these NA not available in the call in the rows. So in order to remove this, what we do is we go to data tab and we apply, let's say, filter. So when you apply a filter, you get a drop down. So I hope all of you have already worked with filter in one way or the other. So we just select, so we deselect everything. So we just say deselect everything, and we just select NA, and we click on OK. So only NAs are there, but what we can see is the first NA that we have is in 4th row, then we have in 15th, and then we have at 21. Now we just want to remove these. So in order to remove these, we are just selecting these, right? Now when you will press delete just in one go. So when you press delete in just one go, we just press delete, and let's just say we select all, and then we say okay. Now what is going to happen is that these particular are going to be blank. So it is not advised to just click on. So we just press Control Z, undo, and we are here again. So it is not advised that you just click on delete, because what can happen is, depending on the version of spreadsheet software you're using, the rows that are there in between. So from 4 to 15, whatever rows that are there, maybe the data between data in those particular rows is also deleted at the same time. So when we delete like this, so what we do is we will go to home. Then we have this option of find and select. So we'll click on find and select, and there's this option to go to. So we'll click on go to. Then there's this option of special. We'll click on special. Then are many options. We're just talking about right now visible cells only. So the cells which are not shown in the after applying the filter are hidden cells, but these cells are visible to us. So we say only visible cells. So visible cells only, and we click OK. So when you click like this, so you can see the difference. The difference is now in 3 sets, the rows are selected. So these rows are selected in 3 sets. So we just have selected individually these, right? And then we go to delete. So we just say delete. So delete sheet rows. So these rows are now deleted. Now when we'll just check for all the things, and then you'll find that there is no NA now. So the sheet is a bit clean. So there is no NA now, right? So there is no NA that you can see. So in total there are 86 entries. Now how to do different, so this was a basic about the filters. So how to do sorting. So in the data tab, you'll find this option of sorting. So when you click on this sorting, the whole of the data will be selected. So automatically, if you're at the leftmost cell, the whole of the data will be selected. And you can see that the first particular row is not selected because we have said that my data has header. So when you uncheck it, this is again merged into the selection is again merged into this. Otherwise, when you say my data has header, so this is showing the whole of the data, and the first particular row is not selected. Now you can add different level of sorting in this arranging the data. So let's just see what all different levels you can find. So the first sorting is sort by which. So sort by different, you're getting different labels. So year, state, crop, category. So in any according to anything you can crop, right? So let's say we say according to state. Now state is values. So according to values, according to cell color, according to font color or icon. So we say according to values only, and then A to Z or Z to A. So let's say alphabetically we are arranging. So we said okay. Now what we can see is as soon as we click OK, all the data is arranged according to states. Now again, let's say we go to sort. Now this was first level of sorting, first level of arranging. Now let's say we add another level of arranging. So sort by this and then by this. So it means that would be addition to whatever level, whatever type of sorting that you are doing. So we have firstly we have selected according to states. Now let's say we select now according to crop, and let's say again values and A to Z. So we say okay. So now what you can see is that according to alphabets that they will be selected. So in every state, let's suppose this is Goa. So there are 3 entries. Now in these 3 entries it will be alphabetically. So because we have said firstly arrange it according to the state and then arrange according to this in, right? So it can be for any of the, so we just go to sort, and then it can be according to any of the any criteria that you want to use. So let's just try again. Sort. So these are 2 level of sorting we have done. So let's say we say according to area of production. Now area of production automatically it says it try to get that these are numbers. So here it was A to Z or Z to A, but here these are numbers. So maybe smallest to largest or largest to smallest. So we say okay. Now we can see that firstly it is arranged according to this. Now what we can see is that this is MN, but somewhere you can see that let's suppose we come here in Goa state. So we have small, castor and jowar. So that was arranged differently when we arranged according to crop category. So this is about sorting. You can add different level of sorting in this. Let's suppose if we do it according to in state only, let's say we say not according to values, but we say according to, let's say, font color. So there are 2 fonts, so automatically change. So let's say we say on top should be this or on bottom should be this. So we say okay. So on top, you get these particular things. So according to whatever need, according to your criteria, according to whatever, however sorting you want to do, you can just sort the data like this. So this was a very little introduction about filter and sorting. Then we have next is pivot tables. So we go to the next sheet, pivot table. So pivot table is basically used in order to summarize the data. Summarize the data which is of similar type. So what we can see in this table, there are different states that are mentioned, then years. So the things would be repeated. So you can say pulses, 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 oil seeds. So these are repeated. The name of the states are also repeated. So what we try to find is that how to summarize this data in one go. The one thing that you can do is you can apply filters. So what you can do is you can just go to data tab and filter. And let's suppose you just want to see for Andhra Pradesh. So you just select Andhra Pradesh and you say okay. Now there are only 3 entries, and this is how it is mentioned. But you're not able to do any kind of analysis in this, and that would be very time consuming to check for every year, every state, every type of crop or category. So how to do it more efficiently? So let's just remove the filter. Now we are at this point. We are going to insert tab. Now this in insert tab, we have pivot tables. So we'll click on pivot table. Now after clicking on pivot table, a dialog box like this will open. Now in this dialog box, automatically the data range is selected, but we'll not select this data range. We'll just try to see how we can use on our own. So we just remove this. So this is the blank, we can say dialog box we can find after clicking on insert pivot table. So we click on this range. So this thing, we click on this. So after clicking on this, what we see is that we select the data. So we select the data from here till the last column and till the last row. So we just take all the variables. So what we can see is we have 6 columns. So it means we have 6 variables. So we just click on this now. Then it says where you want the output. So we want the output in a new worksheet or existing worksheet. Let's just say existing worksheet. So in existing worksheet, we'll just select any cell. So maybe where our data is ending, we can select that cell. So let's say we want our output here. Then we say okay. Now when you say okay, a pivot table is inserted. So our table is inserted, but you cannot see anything. You can just see that this thing is written, but you cannot see anything. So once you click on this, after clicking on this, you can find a new tab has been added. So when I click here, there is no tab. But when I click here, there are 2 new tabs added: Analyze and Design, and it says Pivot Table Tools. Now on the right side, we can see that there are 6 variables. So we had 6 columns. So we have 6 variables here. Now we can make any of the variable as a column. So if we talk about a 2D table, so there are rows and columns. So we can have any variable as in a row, any variable in a column, and we can fill the columns, cells inside that column. So according to any of the need that we have. So let's just say how to summarize the information. So let's just take state. So we just check state. Now when we clicked on state, so we can see state is coming here. So we can just a bit expand it so it is a bit visible. So I can just do it like this. So let's say now this is a blank pivot table. I click on state, and then I can put state in the filters. I can put in the columns. I can put it in the value. I can put in the rows. According to your need, you can put it anywhere. So let's say we put in rows. So as soon as we put it in row, so we find that the states are there now in rows, right? So in all the rows, the name of the states are written, and every state would be written only once. So the repeated entries that were there, the repeated entries are gone. So they are being summarized or merged into one. In the same way, let's say we want crop. Now crop we don't want here, but let's say we want it in column. So when we see our pivot table now, we can see the rows are occupied with the states, and this is occupied, the columns are occupied with, so the columns are occupied with crop. Let's suppose we had to interchange it, so we can interchange it very easily. So we just have to drag and drop, and now you can see that your rows are the crops and the columns are the states. So you can interchange it accordingly. You can also add levels. So let's suppose I take the state and I just put it in the rows only over. So I just put it in like this. So it means what is going to happen is it is going to firstly classify according to crop, and that crop is available in which all states, that is added here. I could have interchange also. So the first level was state and then the type of crop. So that is how I can just make a table, summary table really very quick. Then let's say we say, what do we fill in? So let's say years. So we fill the years in filters. So we are clear with the filters. So now what is going to happen is a filter would also be added, and we can see that here we can find filter, and this in this filter you can select any year that you want. So we'll come to that. So now we are left with this particular column, this that is values. Now values would be added. So this is your whole table. So this is your whole table. Just to make it better, so we just put a border, right? So this is your whole table that has been inserted. Now in this table, these cells are blank, right? So these cells are blank. These cells are going to fill with, we are going to fill these cells with values. So what kind of value you want to fill? So let's say we say the value about production. Now production, we take the value here. Now it just take count of the production. We can have different things. So it's the first one, that is count of the production. We click on this, and instead of count, let's try to change it. So value field settings. So in value field settings, so the name is count of the function. Now we can say sum. It means that it will show you the sum of all the products. So we say okay. Now we can see the table has changed, and this is now filled with that in Bajra. So let's suppose in Bajra, in Assam, how much is the total production? Then again, let's suppose we want to change it. So we say field setting. Let's say what was the average. So we just say we will find the average. The average was this much for different crops. And immediately, let's suppose I'm not finding the layout very comfortable. So I can just take this thing here and this thing here. So automatically the whole table is going to change just in seconds. So, and then you can just copy paste this table and you can put it in a Word file, or maybe put in a another file that you are working with as just a normal table. So you don't have to apply filters again and again in order to make this data into a more summary, in a summarized manner. So you can directly use pivot table, and this would be done in seconds. So you can use average, sum, maximum, minimum, right? So different things that are available, standard deviation, product, and so all those things are available. Now filters, how filters are going to work. So we can just go to this filter, and if we want only for 1 year, so we can say okay. So only for 1951 is possible. If we want to select multiple items, so we can select, let's suppose, only these 3 years. So the table is going to be larger, smaller. The number of rows and columns automatically will be updated with just click of few buttons. So this is about the basics about pivot table. Now the next one is assigning score. So going to the next sheet, assigning score. So assigning score means that let's suppose you have collected some responses. There's some unique idea and you have collected some responses, and on the scale of 5 or any scale, just for example, on the scale of 5, you want to give some scores. Now for giving these scores, you can simply, maybe if the entries are less, so there are only 60 entries, 61, one is your label, so there are only 60 entries. And now if you want to put score in these 60 entries, that is not a very difficult task if you want to do it I had. But let's suppose it was 10,000 entries. So then at that time, it is not feasible for you to do it manually. So again, you have to devise some logic which can be used in this. So let's see what logic we can use. So we try to use if function. So very simple logic. So we are saying So let's just write. So if it is, let's say, below 60, we give 0 points. If let's say it is below, if it is above 60, but below 70. So if it is between 60 to 70, so if it is between 60 to 70, we let's say give a score 1. If it is between 71 or 71 to 80, we give a score 2. If it is 80 to 90, we give a score 3. If it is 90 to 100, let's say we give a score 4. So this is how our logic is. Now we just want to assign the scores. So we'll just see how to do this. We use a very simple function, but in a complex manner. So we say if bracket starts, the logical test is this is less than 60. If this is less than 60, the syntax is firstly define the logic. So if this is less than 60, then we put a comma. What is the value if it is true? So the value is 0. So give assign 0. Then we say comma. Now what if the value is false? If it is not below 60. So we know that if it is not below 60, but we have different ranges. We can assign 1, 2, 3, 4, but we don't know what to assign. So we are not closing the formula, we are just extending it. So we say let's just try if again. So we say if this is less than 70. So if this is less than 70, then the logical test yes is assign 1. Then we say again comma. What if it is not less than 70? What to assign? But then again we have the 3 ranges. So we apply if again. So we say if this is less than 80, then we say what to give the value 2. Then let's say not it is not less than 80, what to give the value. So again we apply if this is less than 90, then we say the value is 3. Then we say now nothing is left, so it means we are at the end. So if it is 90 and above, any 90 and above, the value should be 4. So we just close the bracket. So for every if function, you'll close the bracket. So unless and until this reference goes away, so we just close the bracket and then we hit enter. And then this is the formula that we have added. So this is a generic formula how to do the task in a matter of seconds rather than taking a lot of time. So just we click double click and then we can check the answer. So if it was 74, it means it is between 70 to 80. We can have this. So if it was 65, so the answer was 1. So if it was 92, the answer should be 4. So we have randomly checked also that it is correct. So let's suppose if we were saying that let's just try to find some value. So we have 70. So if we are saying that if it is 60 and 70 is included, right? So if it is inclusive interval, in that case, how to pass this? So we just change it. So instead of just writing less than, we also put equal to. So it means less than or equal to. So we just equal less than or equal to. So it will become inclusive interval. Less than or equal. And then we just hit enter. So this 80, when before it was counted in this particular thing, but now it is counted in this. So it becomes inclusive interval. So this is how we can just assign score really very fast, whatever pattern, however, on whatever scale you're assigning, in a matter of seconds, rather than taking a lot of time, maybe manually assigning or doing any other thing. So this will help you in assigning scores depending on what your input value is. Then moving to our next table on a data table. So data table is like whenever you have two variables, although it can also work with one variable. So if you're seeing the case, whenever you have two variables and you want to see what will be the impact when those two variables are changing simultaneously. So let's suppose you are changing one variable and the other variable is constant, the output would be different. When let's say the second variable is changing, the first variable is at some place, how the output is going to change. So we are trying to find this. So let's just see how to try to find this. So we are taking a very simple thing that we all say that we have taken some home loan, car loan, whatever. So we have taken a loan. There are few number of years for which the loan is taken. Then there are a number of months in 1 year in which you have to pay, let's say, the installments, and there is some rate of interest. So you're trying to find what is the rate per month. So rate per month is whatever is the rate per annum divided by the number of months in the year. So very simple. This is the number of, this is the rate per month you have to pay, right? Now here you are trying to find what will be your EMI. So for this we have a very simple function that is equal to PMT, and then you start with the bracket, and the bracket starts, and then it says what is your rate. So this will be your rate, right? And then you say what is your number of installment. Number of installments would be number of years multiplied by number of months in 1 year. So number of installments in 1 year. So we say number of installments would be this thing, that is 3 multiplied by 12. Then it says how much loan you are taking. So you're taking a loan of 6 lakhs. So you just select 6 lakh and then you close the bracket. So we hit enter. So this figure is coming like this. So we just expand it. So we get the answer as 19,360. It is showing negative because of inflows and outflows. So just in order to remove the negative part, we just add a negative sign here so that it becomes positive in our analysis. Now, let's suppose instead of 3 years, let's take a loan for 5 years. So your EMI is automatically changing. Let's suppose the rate of interest is not 10%, but it is 12%. The EMI is changing. Let's suppose your loan amount is not 6 lakh, but you want to take it for 8 lakhs. Your EMI is changing. Now, how to take these variables, how to check what will be the impact of these variables on your output. Your output is the EMI that you have to pay. So very simple example, you can apply this thing whenever you have two variables and you have to check the impact of change in these two variables. So to start this, what we do is we write years here. So anything you can write. So let's suppose we write years here. So we write 1, 2. So let's say till 6 years. And let's suppose we write principal here. So we can start with a loan of 4 lakh, 5 lakh, and we can just say 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's suppose we can go till any number, there is no problem. So it will be automatically calculated. We don't have to manually do anything. So like this, then let's just put it in a box so that it is more visible. So here we are writing years, and here we are writing loan amount. Right, so loan amount and years. So in this particular cell that we have left blank, that would be considered as what output you want. We want output is this. So we say equal to this. So this is your output, or we can say this is the final result that you want. So final result that you want is this. Now, in order to fill this data table, we just select the whole table here. So this whole table is selected. This will be working as your output. So this is how you are going to tell that this output you want. So we just select this whole table. Then we go to data tab. We have this analysis, what if analysis. What if analysis is going to tell us if one variable is changing, how the other variable is going to change. So we just click on what if analysis. Then we go to data table. So when we click data table, it just asks you two very simple things. What is your row input cell and what is your column input cell? Now in row, what we have is the number of years, right? So this is the principal amount is in your this cell, and in the column we have this. So we just try to put row, and we try to put column, and then we just click OK. We'll just try to do it again. So we have selected the table. Then we are going to what if analysis, then data table. Then it is asking us row input. Now in row input, you are selecting this. That is the years. So years are given in row. So this is your row. So although it is given in column, but this is mentioned in this particular row. So this is your row input cell and the column input cell. So in the column, what is mentioned as this. So this is your input. So you have calculated this on the basis of this and this. So now we click OK. So as soon as you click OK, you get the answer. Now in order to verify answer whether the answer is correct or not, so you check that you are taking for 5 years and 8 lakhs. So just check 8 and 5 years. So answer is 17,795, and here also the answer is 17,795. So you can now you can just analyze with this table that if you take a loan of 11 lakhs for 6 years, what will be the EMI and so, and you can find it. So let's just try to do it again once more. So till this point is clear. So this is your row. This is your row, and this row is getting input from. So this is your output, but for this output you have used this as your input. So this is your row input cell. This is your column. You are basing this thing on this output, but for this output you have used this cell as your input cell. So this will be your column input cell. So again, so we are selecting. After selecting, we are going to what if analysis, and then we are going to data table. And in data table, you're selecting row input cell. So row input cell is your this. So this will be your row input cell. Then column input cell is your this one. The input is coming from here. So this will be the cell, and then it's so. And the table will be filled like this. Now let's suppose if you are changing anything here, let's suppose you are changing it to 6, right? So the table would look like this, right? So let's say if we change it to 7, you can see that there is no change in the table because this table is based on these years and this year. If you're going to change the rate, that is not a variable in this because you have only 2 variables, then it is going to change, otherwise it will be constant. Now what we can do is, this is a figure which we don't want here, so we'll just press right, and then we'll go to format cell, and in the custom we'll go to number only, and we'll go to custom, and in custom it is written, so we'll just remove this and we'll just put like this. So this will be gone, so this will not be visible. So let's just see it again. We are going to format cell. After format cell, you'll go to custom, and you'll just remove this. So we are just trying to remove this. Now instead of this, we are putting 3 semicolons. So instead of this, we are putting 3 semicolons. So 3 semicolons, and then we click OK. So when you click OK, this would be not visible now. So when you see this, this cell is actually there, but it is not visible to us. So this way you can make your data table look better if it is in this format only. This is how you can use your data table. Now coming to another part, that is regression. So next sheet is regression. So in this particular sheet, we can find different variables for different states. So it says that the cultivated land in different states in different years, then rainfall, production. So it's a panel data that we have here. So now if you want to analyze this table using a simple regression model, so let's say we say our production is dependent on rainfall and cultivated land. So production is your dependent variable and rainfall and cultivated land is your independent variable. So you just try to build your model according to your theory. So if you want to do a regression analysis in this, so how we can do it in a spreadsheet? Although there are many other softwares, but you can also do it in a very simply in a spreadsheet. So how we can do this? So let's just try to do. Right, so we go to data tab. Right, so we're going to data tab. So in this unless and until you add a tool pack, that is data analysis tool pack, you'll not be able to do this analysis. So regression or any other analysis you'll not be able to do unless you have the data pack installed. So what we can see is right now the data pack is not installed in this. So for installing data pack, you will go to file, then you'll go to options, then you'll go to add-ins. So in this add-in, you'll find analysis toolpack. So you'll just double click on this and you'll say go. We'll just say analysis toolpack. So we're just adding one or maybe there. So this is going to be added. Now what we can see is we get another tab, that is data analysis and solve. So this is how you can add the tabs. So let's just try with regression. So we click on data analysis. Now, after clicking on data analysis, there are different analysis tools that you can find. We'll discuss a few today. So let's just start with a very simple regression. So we just start with regression. So we find regression here and then we click OK. Now, the dialog box like this will open, and according to this, we can do the analysis. So it says what is your input Y range and what is your input X range. So input Y range is your output. So this is your input Y range. So we just select the whole range here. Then it says what is your input X range. So whenever you are selecting the X range, you can select, you have to select it at all the variables at one go. So we have two variables, this and this. So it means both these variables should be side by side. So they should be in the next column only, and you have to select both the cells at the same time. Then you will say that there are labels in the first row. So there are labels in the first row. So you'll just select this. Then you can also select the confidence interval according to your study. And then we say output range. Output range would be in this particular sheet only. So any cells which are blank on the right side, so you just select or you can go to a new sheet also. Then we just click OK. So once you click OK, you get the summary output, and then in the summary output you get the whole result. So you get F statistic, you get significance level, you get mean square, sum of squares, and all those values you get. Then below that, in this you get t values, so the coefficients, the intercept, the coefficients for both your variables, then your standard error, t statistics, p value, and then it also gives you some confidence intervals. But you want to use it, you can use it, otherwise you can delete it. So you can perform a simple regression in spreadsheet like this. Then moving to the next sheet, so we have descriptive statistics also. So in this sheet we can see that there are revenues and expenses. If you want to do a very simple descriptive kind of study, so we can just go to data tab, data analysis, and then you have this option of descriptive statistics. So you just select descriptive statistics and then click OK. So it will ask you about your input range. So your input ranges, you'll just select both the cells. So whatever variables for which you want to do the descriptive study, so you can just click on this. Labels in the first row, that is there. Now how the data has been arranged. So data has been arranged in columns. So one variable is in one column and the second variable is in the second column. It could have been in the rows. So it depends whether your table is vertical or horizontal. So this is a vertical table. Whenever it is horizontal table, so you'll say group by rows. Then where you want the output, so let's just see, we just say any cell here. So here we want the output. You can be in a new worksheet also. Now different other options are there. We'll come to this. So we'll say okay. So we'll say this, we want summary statistic, and so okay. So for both your variables, we get all the descriptive statistics here. So mean, median, mode, kurtosis, standard deviation, mean, range, minimum, maximum count. So all these things you get in descriptive statistics. So very simple. We can just summarize the table in just few clicks. Then we have correlation and covariance. So let's suppose you're given with some information about market capitalization, profit, and this. So if you want to relate that how the profit of this year is related to the profit of the next year, so you can just use a simple correlation. So for using correlation, we'll go to data analysis, then we'll go to correlation. Okay, then it will ask you about your input range. So input range is this. So let's say we just select all the three variables at one go, and then we say how your data is being grouped, that is in columns, and this is your first row is your label. Then your output range would be any cell you can just select. So let's say we select this cell, and then we say okay. So we get the values. Now how to interpret, how to read the values. So there are three variables, and three variables are how they are correlated to each other. So we say market capitalization to market capitalization would be one only. Then profit to market capitalization of 13 is this much. The correlation is this much. Profit of 13 is correlated with market capitalization of 13 is this much. And with one another, it would be one only, right? And these values would not be mentioned because this value and this value would be same, right? So that is why these values would be applied. So this is how you can find correlation between different variables. Next one that we have is moving averages. Moving averages, mostly we try to inculcate in our analysis whenever we are depending on theory, depending on the study. So moving averages, how we can work with moving averages. So we again go to data analysis toolpath. Then we have, we'll just find moving averages. So we have here moving average. We click OK. So a table like this will open. So it will ask you what is your input range. So let's say we want to find the average of expenses. So average of expenses. So there is, we have not selected first row in the first row label. So we have selected from B2, so we'll not check it. Now for how many figures you want to average. So let's say for every 6 months, we want to find the average. So let's say our output. So from wherever you want to put the output, let's say you want to put the output from here only. So we just click this and we say okay. So we find the answer, and in this answer, what we can find is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are blank because if we have said that we need at least 6 to find the average, so these will be 5 would be blank, and from 6 you start getting the average. So this would be the seventh one. So from second to 7. So again, so this would be our moving average. Now moving to the next one, that is how to find analysis of variance. So and how to use ANOVA, a single factor ANOVA. So for doing this analysis, again we'll go to data analysis toolpath. Now in this toolpath we'll going to find ANOVA. So there are three kinds of ANOVA. So we'll start with the first one, that is ANOVA single factor. So ANOVA single factor, we click OK. We get the dialog box, and in this dialog box we select our data. So this whole data is being selected here. Then we click that is grouped by columns. So all the variables that are there that are in columns. Then we have first row as our label. What is your alpha? So you can just write your alpha here, and then output range. Output range can be anywhere. So let's say here, and then we click OK. So just you click and then you find the answer. So it says that these are your three groups, and in these three groups, these are the counts. These are the variance between the group, and this is within the group. And with the help of this, you find your F statistic. And after finding of F statistic, as you have given, your alpha is 5%. So at 5%, what the critical value is and what actual value is. So you could say that you will be able to reject the null hypothesis, and this is your p value, which is very, very small. So this is how you can do a single factor ANOVA. Then we have another that is when you try to find when you have more samples for each group. So we can use two-factor ANOVA. So when you're using two-factor ANOVA, again the process is similar, but how the data has to be selected is a bit different. So we'll say two-factor with replication. So we'll say okay. Now this is your input range. So you'll select your input range. Now it will ask you how many rows per sample. So let's say these are two groups that you are divided, early risers and late risers. So you've collected 4 samples for each, right? So group, so it's a 4 samples. So 4 samples. So this should be constant, then only the analysis would work. Then your alpha, let's say 5% significant, and then output range anywhere in the sheet or a new sheet. So just click OK. You get the table for ANOVA with replications like this. So the count, the sum, average variance, and then the count, sum, average variance. So this is about, we can say, a kind of descriptive statistic that is mentioned. But here your main analysis would be there. That is for different samples, what is the, then for different columns, and the interaction between the groups and within the groups, and with the help of this you'll be able to find your F statistics, and then as your 5 level significance level, you can find the critical values, and you can define whether you will rejecting or accepting the null hypothesis. Now moving to the next part, we have charts. Now making charts is very kind of it's very useful in presenting the data in a very crisp manner. So for making the charts, what we are doing is, we can see that here the information is mentioned, and this information is again and again repeated. It means, let's say, pretty small. So pretty small is repeated many times. So firstly, what we are trying to do is, we are trying to consolidate this information, and we know how to consolidate the repeated information by using pivot tables. So by using pivot tables, we are trying to remove this. So with the help of pivot table, we are trying to make a summary table out of this. So let's just go to insert, and then we say pivot table, and then we select the range. And then we say where you want the output. So let's say a new worksheet, and okay. So you get the output here. So according to your need, you can just check. So let's suppose we say, and then so revenue, sum of revenue. So let's suppose this is our one table. So we just say control. Now when we are pasting this, so if we just paste it like this, another pivot table would be there. So if we just go here, there will be a pivot table, and if we go there, there will be a pivot table. But we don't want this. So if we don't want this, so in that case, we are going to copy this table. And as we know, if you want to get rid of the formulas, so we just say Alt Control and V, that is paste special, and then we'll click on values, and then we'll say okay. And now what we can see is only the table is there. There's no pivot table. So the values are copied. There is no other thing. Now let's suppose we want to make another table. So we say we also want expenses. So these expenses are there. So instead of copying the whole thing, we just copy this, and then we just paste it here. So values. So we have sum of revenues and sum of expenses. So Now let's suppose we want to make a chart of this. So a very simple chart that we want to make. So if we want to make a chart of this, so we have selected this data, and after selecting the data, we are going to insert tab, and there are few charts. There are few different types of charts that are mentioned. So let's just see what are the charts are. The first type of chart is column chart, which can be a 2D column or a 3D column. Then a bar charts, right? Mostly we use these two types of charts. Then pie diagram, area charts are there. So let's just start with bar charts, which are mostly used by us in different analysis. So bar chart, so there are different bar charts. So it's a 2D column chart cluster. Then we have a cluster, a stacked column chart, and we have 100% stacked column. Let's just insert this particular chart, that is this one. Okay. So after inserting, so when we've selected the data, the chart would be inserted automatically. So we don't have to do anything. The chart would be inserted automatically. But let's suppose it is not done like this. Our cursor is here. If whenever your cursor would be here, the chart would be inserted automatically whenever you click on the type of chart. Let's suppose our cursor is here. We're going to insert, and we say that we want a 2D column chart. So now a chart is there, but this is a blank chart that has been added. Now in this blank chart, how to select the data? So how we are going to select the data in this blank chart? That would be our task. So for selecting this data, we'll go to select chart. Now here it will say what is your range of the chart. So we'll go to this and we'll just select the range. So the range has been selected. So once the range has been selected, automatically the data will be shown to you in the chart. Now if you want to switch rows and columns. So what we can see is by default, the spreadsheet intelligently took the type of company here and the figures here. So if you want to switch it, it can be switched like this, that the sum of revenue is there and then it is. So let's suppose this is the idea. Now there's something known as legend entries. That is, these are your legend entries. So that is sum of revenue and sum of expenses. So the blue one and the orange one. So blue one is your revenue and the orange one is your expenses. Then it says for horizontal categories for which all you want to show. So we are showing for all the different types. So if let's say if we don't select very big, so very big will not be there. Very small is not. So accordingly, you can hide and select it. Then what else we can do here? Right. So let's suppose we say, okay. Now there are different tools of many elements that you can do. You can add titles or you can just use a kind of a template. So this quick layout template you can use. So automatically you don't have to do anything and automatically you can just use these templates in order to write like this. But now what we can see is that this particular thing, that is expenses. Expenses are shown to you, but the problem in expenses is that the expenses are not very visible because they are very less as compared relatively as to revenue. So in order to kind of correct this thing, so let's say we just select this series, and after selecting this series, we just go to change series chart type, right? So after going to this, so when we just go to this, right click, then change series chart type, and here we just say the sum of revenue can be shown in secondary axis. So we say okay. So let's just try to double click on this, and then we say right. So this is how you can just add the series, right? So this series can be added, and this is how you can just add different layouts in this. So a simple chart, if you want to change the chart type, you can just go here and according to your need, you can just change the chart. So this is about basics of charts, or we can say basics of different things that you can do in a spreadsheet in a more efficient manner, so that your day-to-day work and your academic work can be easily managed. Yeah, so we are open for questions and answers, so we can take up.
Yes, any participants have any questions, they can post on the chat. There are no questions on the YouTube channel. And if I can see the chat, these are mostly the compliments that they have given for your session, sir, that you have given a great presentation and shown so much complicated data in a simplified manner. So they have really found the session very informative. And in case any of the participants have any questions, you can please post it on chat. Okay, so one question is, can we use Excel instead of SPSS for basic research data?
Yes, definitely. So in Excel, as we have seen in data analysis toolpack, you can find most of the things that you are able to, that you need to do. So ANOVA is there, regression is there, correlation. So basic things you can do. But let's suppose if you are doing certain things that are not available in software in Excel, then you have to switch for e-views or SPSS or any of those things.
Okay, thank you, sir. Yes, any other questions? I guess no more questions are there. They are still giving more compliments that it was a detailed presentation. Okay, further we have, what is the difference between single ANOVA and two-way factor?
In that you are just comparing one variable, but in the other one you're comparing more than one variable. So that is why we will use single factor or two factors.
Okay, can we apply factor and cluster analysis?
So no, in a spreadsheet that is not available. So for that you have to go to e-views or SPSS.
Okay, thank you, sir. Yes, any more questions? Oh, everyone is thanking you for your valuable session, sir. So we can see how well the session was and how much the participants have benefited from your session. Okay, sir. I guess no more questions are being posted by the participants. So I really take this opportunity to thank you, sir, for giving this valuable session to all of us. We have learned a lot. Even I also attended the session and learned so much about how to use Excel actually. Like we can do basic research also using Excel, apart from using softwares like SPSS. So thank you so much, sir. And we hope we have further sessions with you in future as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for being a very good audience. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay.